Hi there, welcome to AK Online Academy. This is Tutor Benego speaking. Okay, so in this session, I'm simply going to be solving the assignment questions I gave you on trigonometry paper 2 based on the lesson 1 we had on the cosine rule. So the examples, as always, the assignment questions, as always, came from past exam papers. And the first question I gave you came from 2019 paper 2, which was written by the grade 12s. And the question says, the diagram below shows a triangle KMN in which KM is 8 kilometers, MN is 10 kilometers, and angle KMN is 92 degrees. They're basically just describing the shape you're seeing on the screen right now. And the first question they're saying is calculate the distance KN. Okay, so before we calculate the distance, we are going to name our triangle using the triangle notation. Okay, so according to the triangle notation, the side opposite angle M is going to be named with a small letter m. Okay, the side opposite angle N is going to be named with a small letter n. The side opposite angle K is named using a small letter k. All right. Okay, like that. So now, once we do this, we now need to figure out, because it will not be stated in the question, which rule you are supposed to use to solve the question. So you need to figure out, which rule am I supposed to use to answer this question? Is it the sine rule? Is it the cosine rule? Okay. Remember, for the sine rule, if you're finding a side, this is the ratio you use. You said A over sine A is equal to B over sine B. Or if you add C, you're going to say like that. Okay. This is what you use when you're finding a side. This is a side. Okay. That's a distance there. So now, for you to be able to use this ratio, you remember we said you can only use 2 of these ratios at a go. So meaning we just capture these. All right. So now this requires that, since you are finding the side, it requires that you know the angle opposite that side you are finding. So if you check this question, the side we are finding is what? Kn. Where is Kn? Kn is this guy, right? Kn, is it? Yeah, Kn. So we're trying to find M. All right. So in trying to find M, we need to know the angle opposite M, right? So we know the angle opposite M is known. We check that. And then we need to also have another side which has its corresponding angle also known. Okay, but if you look at this side, this one here, the 10 kilometers here, the angle opposite that side is not known. Okay, even this other side, the angle opposite the side is also not known. Therefore, the sine rule cannot work at this point. Okay, so we now go to the cosine rule. And remember, I told you to say the cosine rule only has 2 versions. One, it's either they'll give you a triangle, they'll give you 2 sides. Let's say this is triangle ABC. Okay, let's say they'll tell you this is 7 centimeters, this is 8. And then these two sides where they're meeting at point B. They also give you the angle here where they're meeting. Let's say they say this is 100. That's the first variation. Okay, it may not be exactly this angle here. They can give you, maybe it's this one here, 90, meaning they also give you this side here. Okay, let's say they don't give you this one here. And while these 2 sides you've been given are meeting, they're meeting at C. The angle is also known. Okay, another variation could be, instead of giving you this side and that angle there, they might give you this angle here, say 70 degrees, and then they give you, say, this is 8 centimeters. All right, okay, those are bad values. 8 centimeters. Okay, badly written values. Okay, so you notice to say these sides you've been given, where they are meeting, the angle is also given. That's how you know to say this is definitely cosine rule. The other version is when they give you a triangle with no interior angles, just sides. Okay, let's say that's your triangle A. Oops. Triangle A. This is B. That is C. Let's say they tell you this is 7, this is 8, this is 9. You will know to say this one is a cosine rule. Okay, so they're just those two ways. But okay, let me, in case I forget, it doesn't mean that they'll only give you this format like this, where they say, okay, this is 100, this is 7 centimeters, this is 8 centimeters, this is triangle ABC. It doesn't mean that they'll only give you this format where they'll only give you two sides, and where they're meeting, these sides they've given you, where they're meeting, the angle is also given. This is not the only format they'll give you. They might even add the third angle, or a third side. Let's say this is 8 centimeters, just to try and see whether you know what you're doing. Okay, so yeah, that's basically that. Or they might just change the shape like they did in question 2. So that is why even in the first lesson we had on cosine rule, I did mention to say it's not always that they're just going to give you this format. You see here, that's the format we're talking about. They give you two sides, and then where these two sides are meeting, they're meeting right here. By sides, I simply mean this line, where this line and this line are meeting, they're meeting at Q. They will also give you that angle there. Okay, but then if you notice this question, they also added another triangle on top. Okay, they even put another angle there just to try and confuse people, and many people couldn't figure out what rule they were supposed to use here because of the added information. So the principle is just know to say, if you are using the cosine rule, this is the major thing to take note of. Why these two sides I have are meeting, is the angle included? If it is included, then you know to say I can use the cosine rule to find this side here. Okay, so that is that. So don't expect the same format. The examiners sometimes change things just to try and confuse students. So make sure you know to say this is the format I'm going to be following, and in case they switch up anything, you still be able to know to say this is actually what I'm supposed to do. So according to the cosine rule, we said the standard formula is a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc then cos a. So now what are we trying to find? We're trying to find side m. So what we're finding should be in front. So side m will be equal to, and then what other sides do we have? We have k and n. So we're going to say k squared plus n squared minus 2. These same sides you have k and n, you put them here, kn, and then cos. What are you finding? You're finding side m. So meaning here it's going to be angle. It's going to be angle m. Remember we said angles are represented by capital letters and sides are represented by small letters. So at this point, simply plug in those values you have. Okay, what is the value for k? K is represented by 10 kilometers. So I'm going to say 10 squared plus, what is n? N is represented by 8 there. So I'm going to say 8 squared minus 2. What is k? K is 10. So I'm going to say 10, close, open, n is 8. And then you're going to say cos. What is the angle at m? M is right there. It's 92 degrees. So 92 degrees, right? Then we're going to now say, we punch in everything. So m squared is equal to, what is 10 squared? That should give you 100. 8 squared, 64. And then you multiply. So just punch everything. No need to do math mentally at this point. This is paper 2. You are allowed to use a calculator. So 10 squared plus 8 squared minus 2, open bracket, 10, close bracket, open bracket, 8, close bracket. And then that is times cos 92. Okay, that gives me 169.58. So 169.58 391 195. Okay, so now before I proceed, let me just check that I punch in the correct values. 10 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 10 times 8 times cos 92. Okay, correct. So at this point, you take note to say we need to get rid of that squared value. Okay, let me just confirm something again. So 10 squared, I'll explain what I'm doing in a moment. 8 squared minus 2 times 10 times 8, okay, times cos 1, that is 92, cos 92, okay. All right, sorry, I have a flu, so I may produce some sound every now and then. Okay, so I actually wanted to check whether what I had punched in was correct, and I did, and that is the correct answer we have here. So now we're trying to find the value of m, not the value of m squared. So we need to get rid of the square here. How do we do that? We need to square root both sides. So we're going to say m squared like that is equal to, even this side we square root, 169.5839195. okay, so this guy and that guy will cancel, will just remain with m this side. Then we can say is equal to, what is the square root of that value? So don't have a habit of always deleting your answers after you are done computing on your calculator. Let them sit on the calculator in case you may need to use them. Sometimes you just press, you just have to press, like for example, you have here where we had 169.5839195. This is the answer that we had. Okay, so there are some calculators that will allow you just press the square root button and then you press equals and it will square root. What are you trying to avoid? You're trying to avoid always punching in values whenever you want to use, let's say, multiply or add another number to the same value you found. Okay, so don't erase your answers immediately after copying them. So otherwise, when I square root that value, what I'm getting is 13.022. That's 13.0224390843908. 43908. When we round it off to 2 decimal places, I'm getting 13 point, that is going to be 02. That is what? Okay, that is in kilometers. They're using kilometers in the question. Okay, that is our side. Okay, then we now go to the next question. It says find the area of the triangle. You remember we said the formula for finding the area of the triangle is the same as the one we're using the time we're looking at sine rule. It does not change just because we're looking at cosine rule. It is the same formula, and that formula is given in the exam paper, which is 0.5. It's actually given as 1/2, but 1/2 is the same as 0.5 converted as a decimal. So I prefer using this one in paper 2 since we have a calculator. Okay, sine A. This is a formula where B and C are sides, and then A here is the included angle. So we said for this type of equation, it's very easy. These two sides they gave you are the ones you're going to use to plug in here. You are going to assign one as B, the other one as C. So we're going to say area is equal to 0.5 times, so let's assign the 10 kilometers to B and the 8 to C. Okay, and then times sine A. Sine A here is basically just the angle where those two sides you have picked are meeting. So that's 92 there. When you punch everything, what do you get? Okay, so you punch everything on your calculator, then you see what you get. Just create some space here. So we are saying 0.5 times 10 times 8 times sine 92, right? 0.5 times 10 times 8 times sine 92. That gives me 39.975. 39.975 63308. Is it? Yeah. If we round it off to 2 decimal places, we're getting 39 point. So this 7 will round the 9 upwards, okay, of which the 9 will also round this 9 upwards. So in the end, what are we going to have? Oh, to 2 decimal places. Okay, great. 2 decimal places, we're going to have 9. This 5 will round the 7 upwards, so it becomes 8. And then this is what? Kilometers. So since this is area, we're going to say kilometers squared. And we are going to need this in the next question, so we can save that answer up there. 39 point. 0.98 kilometers squared. That's your final answer there. We now proceed to the next question. Which is obviously going to ask us to find the shortest distance. By now you should have identified the patterns that they are the same, the way these questions are phrased. It's either they'll ask you to find an angle or the distance, ask you to find the area, the shortest distance. Okay, the first three questions are phrased the same way. So I found these two. We now come to this one. We say the formula for finding the shortest distance is height is equal to 2a over b, where b is the distance they mentioned in the question and a is the area you found in the previous question. So height will be equal to 2 times a. There we have the area up here, remember we saved it, so 39.98. then everything over there where you have b, you go to the question, find the shortest distance from m to kn. So kn is the value you are going to put for b. Kn we found that was what did we find? I've forgotten the value we found. Okay, let me see if I can go back to the answer before I erased it. Okay, can't seem to find the answer. Let me proceed. Let's quickly compute. So that was 8 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 8 times 10. Okay, then cos what? Cos 92. Okay, then when we square that value, that is 169. I think that was 13 something. 169.583 9195. We wrote this value, so we're going to say 169.5839195. yes, 13.02. so this is our side M, 13.02 meters. Okay, so that is what they're asking us to find here. So here, while there is b in the formula, we need to plug in this side kn, which is what we actually found. So if this value is wrong, you also get this question wrong. That's how clever examiners are. They will ask you to use the same values you found, okay, so that they can see whether what you did was correct. So we're going to say 2 times 39.98 equals, and then divided by 13.02. okay, that gives me a decimal, 6.141. that is 6.141321 045. So meaning the height will be equal to 6.14 kilometers. And you are done for that question. Just confirm I didn't check whether I punched the correct values. Always confirm. Okay, 2 times 39.98, then I divide by 13.02. okay, 2 times 39.98 equals divided by 13.02. okay, all right, that's correct. Okay, we now go to the next question. So this one is very simple. I didn't expect anyone to get this one wrong, because we covered a lot of these questions the time we were looking at algebraic fractions paper 1. So let me just quickly answer this question. So it's saying 25 p to the power 4 over 7q squared divided by 5 p to the power 6 over 21 q to the power 4, and then times p over 15 q. Okay, so you remember, according to this type of equation in algebraic fractions, you have multiplication here, so we can actually try to reduce these values. We can say 5 there 1, 5 there, we have a 3 there. Okay, then there's nothing else we can cancel here, right? Nothing. So we're now going to say 25 p to the power 4 over 7q squared. Then let's change this sign. So here, let me just copy here. What are we going to remain with? We're going to remain with p to the power 6 over 21 q to the power 4. And then times p over 3q. Remember there's this 3 down here, which remained. So we're now going to do the keep change flip. So if you change that to multiplication, and then you're going to flip these guys here. Okay, I just wanted to show you what is remaining there so that you can flip them in the next step. So then it's going to become 21 q to the power 4 over p to the power 6. We've just flipped them here. The numerator has become the denominator has become the numerator. Then we say times, and then this one, we are copying it just the way it is because it's not affected. P over 3q. Alright, at this point we can now reduce the numbers. So we can now say 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 2 and 1, that is 7. And then this 7 gets cancelled by that 7. So we're done reducing the numbers. There's no other number to reduce at this point. So we copy everything that has remained. Down here we just have q squared remaining. So make sure you pick the values correctly. Don't leave out any values. And then here we're going to have p to the power 6 times p over a q there. Alright. And then at this point we're now going to start reducing the variables. So here there are 4 p's here. Okay, 4 p's cancel 4 p's from here. You're going to remain with what? 2 p's. Okay, from the 2 p's this p will cancel 1 p, so meaning you just remain with a p there. Okay, please follow carefully. So meaning you just, the 2 that was here is also cancelled by this p that remained here. Then here there are how many q's? There are 4 q's. If you cancel 2 from the 4, you are going to remain with 2 q's. Okay, from the 2 q's that are remaining, this q will cancel 1 q from there. So meaning all the powers are cancelled, we are just remaining with a q there. Is there anything else? No. So we just remain with 25 and a q on top. So 25 times q is 25q. Down here, everything is cancelled except for the p there. So meaning it's 25 over 25q over p. And that's our final answer. We'll now proceed to the next question. Okay, the most interesting question which a lot of people cried about last year, the GCE candidates. A garden is in the form of a quadrilateral PQRS with PQ 5 meters, QR 8 meters, RS 7 meters, and PS 6 meters. Okay, so they're basically just describing the shape you're seeing. And now the question says, given that angle PQR is 140 degrees, this angle here, and angle PRS is 18, calculate PR. What are they asking us to find? They're asking us to find this distance here, right here. Okay, that's the distance they want us to find. So at this point, this shape up here is irrelevant. We're just going to focus on this triangle down here. Okay, examiners, we're just being examiners, trying to confuse people. Okay, so at this point, let us just name this triangle according to the triangle notation. The angle opposite Q is going to be small letter q. Okay, the angle opposite R is this one. The side opposite angle R is this one, so small letter r. The side opposite angle P, small letter p. This is going to be the shape we're going to focus on. So we're trying to find KR, which is represented by what? By Q. So now if you look at this question, okay, can I use the sine rule? So since we've already singled out this triangle to say this is what we're going to use, you can clearly see that we're going to use the cosine rule, because here you have these two sides given, and where they're meeting, the included angle is given. And I've been singing about this format. So at this point, I know we all know what we're supposed to do. So all we have to do now is come up with that formula. So we derive it from the original. I keep writing this because I want you to make sure that you know how we are supposed to come up with the formulas, because they will not always give you a triangle ABC or something. So this is our original formula. So we're finding the side Q. So we're going to say Q squared is equal to, what other sides do we have? We have P and R. So we're going to say P squared plus r squared minus 2, these same values we have p there, you have r there, put them here, p r cos, what side are you finding? Side q, so meaning here you put a capital letter q, represent the angle. Excuse me. All right, so you already have all these other values. You're now going to say q squared is equal to, what is p, what is the value for p? Okay, p is right here represented by an 8, so I'm going to say 8 squared plus, what is r? R is right here represented by a 5, so I'm going to say 5 squared minus 2 open brackets, p is 8, r is 5, close. Okay, then you're going to say, you can say times or just say cos q. What is the angle at q? The angle at q is 140, so you put your 140 there, and then you punch on your calculator. Okay, 8 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 8 times 5, okay, times cos 140. We confirm whether what we punched is correct. So that is 8 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 8 times 5 times cos 140. Press equals. What are we getting? We're getting 150. 150.283 5554 5554. We round, then we need to get rid of this guy here, the power. So what do? You square root both sides. So we're going to square root here and also square root there. So meaning what's going to be the value of q? So my calculator does not allow me to just press the square root button. I need to actually start with the square root button, then I punch the values manually. So I have to erase, then start doing the manual plugging in of those values. So 150.2835554. When I press equals, I'm getting 12.25. So that is 12.25 9019 901935. So meaning the value of q rounded off to 2 decimal places is going to be 2.6, because this 9 will round this 5 upwards. So what are they using? They're using meters in the question, so you also put your meters there. We can now include that in our diagram. So this is 12.26 meters. We can now proceed to the next question. You can see again they're asking us to find the area of the triangle. You see why solving exam papers is the best way to revise. You will be able to clearly identify the format examiners use, how the questions are phrased. Okay, check on any question on trigonometry from any past paper between 2025 and 2017. Okay, of course you can also go as far back as 2016. Just check the format the way it comes. First question, it's either they'll ask you to find the distance or the angle. Second question, area of a triangle. Okay, next question, shortest distance. So now let's find the area of this triangle. So area is equal to 0.5 BC sine. Don't change to cos simply because you're dealing with cosine rule. Sine A. Okay, area is equal to 0.5. I said for this type of equation it's very easy. You just use these angles they've given you, and you use these sides. Why am I saying angle? Let me explain properly. I don't want to confuse anyone. You use these sides they have given you plus the angle at the point where these two sides you have picked are meeting. So we're going to assign B to 8, and then C we're going to assign to the value 5, and then we multiply with sine. What's the included angle there? It's 140. Meaning area will be equal to 0.5 times 8 times 5 times cos 140. 0.5 times 8 times 5 times cos 140. That gives me, okay, not cos, I've punched cos instead of sine, and that has given me a negative. 0.5 times 8 times 5, okay, times sine 140. So that gives me 12.25 12.855. 12.85575 219. 219. Let me check if what I punched is correct. 12.5 times 8 times 5 times sine 140. Okay, that is correct. Now we say area is going to be equal to 12.8. This 5 will round this one upwards, it becomes a 6. Using meters, so we're going to say meters squared since this is area. Remember, we need the area, so we'll save it up here. Okay, we've solved a couple of questions here, and now we know exactly how the questions are coming and in which order they are arranged. So that is our area there. We now proceed to the next question, which is asking us to find the shortest distance. Okay, so to find the shortest distance, you need to know the formula, which is height is equal to 2a over b. In case you forget it, the formula is derived from this one here, okay, bh, where they've just made, what we have done here, we've just made a the subject in this case. So in case you forget the formula for the shortest distance, just know it is the same formula used for finding the area of a right angle triangle. Okay, so we're now going to say the shortest distance from S to PR. So height is equal to 2 times the area, which is what we saved up there, 12.86. Okay, over what is our B? Our B, we go to the question. Shortest distance from S to PR. PR is therefore our B. PR is what? 12.26. So we say 12.26. Height is going to be equal to, you punch those values in your calculator, 2 times 12.86. Press equals, and then you say divided by 12.26. What does that give you? Gives you 2.0978. Okay, 2.0978. 79282. 79282. Round that off to 2 decimal places. We're going to say we are going to get 2.1. This 7 will round the 9 upwards, it becomes a 10, converting this guy to a 1. So its height is therefore going to be 2.1 meters. And you are done. Okay, so this is pretty much how we are supposed to answer the questions we had on trigonometry, paper 2, cosine rule, lesson 1. So in the next session, which is going to be on Sunday at 20 hours, we're now going to look at cosine rule, lesson 2, which is the final lesson. Those scenarios where they have it, they give you a triangle and they just give you the sides. Okay, 8 centimeters and then 6 centimeters. This is triangle ABC. These are the types of questions we're going to be looking at. And in these types of questions, they'll be asking you to now find an angle. And then the rest of the questions are just going to be the same. Yeah, so that is pretty much that. Okay, then for those that would like to be helped as well, prepare for their exams, we are offering tuitions. We also do offer tuitions for those that feel they have a lot to cover. Okay, you've not done much. You clearly know to say, I am not ready, and you need to be helped. We also offer one-on-one sessions whereby it's just going to be you and I in the live class, either on Google Meet or Zoom, explaining. You are seeing what I'm teaching, and when you have questions, you'll be able to ask, and then I'll explain so that you understand. So those who feel like they need that kind of help, okay, please get in touch with me on this number. Those who feel they are confident enough, they just need to be helped finalize the preparations, you can still get in touch with me. We have a couple of subjects we're offering. It's not only mathematics. We have mathematics, science, physics, biology, religious education 2046, English, commerce, civic education, and a couple of other subjects. So just get in touch so that we can be able to assist you prepare for this exam, which is less than a month away. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next session.